formula. You need to build the right formula, specialist versus career shapeshifter. You need to bring them together because these guys, specialists have an important role to play, but also shapeshifters have an important role to play. So what's the right balance? What's the right hierarchy? Politics. Also, what these guys are in charge of, are super crucial. So I'm right now building a startup. It's an online platform for this because I thought, okay, if you just keep talking about it without doing anything on that high level, it wouldn't work. So at least maybe the first step is to help as many people who want to change their career to make the process smooth, and then bring all those people to the shape-shifting, side of the world, and then on the other side, educate organizations that those people have a role to play. And they're going to benefit you because you can be more disruptive, you can be more innovative, you can be more progressive in your ideas, and many benefit of that.
Why do you think, because as you're saying that makes so much sense, right? And conceptually, a lot of people kind of grasp that, the idea that the more diversity of thought you have, the different perspective, like all those things are beneficial. In a world today where so much of the corporate world is driven by efficiency, right? And growth and efficiency, why haven't they realized that? Like, why is it so focused on specialization? Like, why hasn't that come across more? Why has specialization been the thing that won out, you think?
I think it's instilled early in the process in our schooling, and instilled in our, also subconscious, like early in the process. That's the only way to succeed in your life. So you grow up doing this. If any other move, if you want to go out of that, it means that you failed. Like even I suffered with also my parents. Like every transition I had in my life, I was really suffering to convince them that this is what I really want to do. And I still remember, like, when I wanted to be a diplomat, it wasn't easy for them to accept. Like, come on, you can work in a multinational company, get paid high and as well, and blah. And then when I proved to them after 3 years of studying and while working as a pharmacist, they started accepting that. But then when I started moving back again, again, the same
Things came
idea.
back, yeah.
Hopefully now after several, transitions, they accept, but you need to challenge that status quo to prove. It's also hard, specialists don't see that because they see the world from that perspective. You really need to take them out, to show them another world, which is not.
Why do you think that status quo form, if you went to like the first principle, the root of it, what is it that allowed human nature to even be compelled to say, this is the most effective way for us to do this? Is it laziness? Is it short-sightedness? Is it like, maybe we're wrong. Maybe there's some good reason why, like what got us on that path to begin with, you think?
Specialization or
take the concept your parents had, right? When you were going to leave being a pharmacist, they had that fear of like, why would you do that? You can get a great job, you can make money. Not specifically for them, but as humans through our progression and evolution, why did specialization seem to win out for us? Like there must have been something good about it that seemed like it was the best idea. Like the most obvious thing I could think of is that it speaks to the flaws of the human mind, right? Like we had this idea that we want to grow, we want to build, we want to innovate, we want to achieve. And on somewhat of a superficial, simpler level, it seemed like, oh, the best way to do that is to just get a bunch of experts on a certain thing, then they'll be really good and they'll go. And we didn't have the ability, we weren't sophisticated enough intellectually to recognize the things you're saying. Is that right? Is that arrogant of me to say? Like, or is that true, you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's several reasons, of course, but maybe it started with some economists, Adam Smith and others, who talk about productivity, and the whole world machine will not be productive unless people specialize in one tiny specialization. And that happens, and it makes sense in a lot of industries where a job of a worker is to do this only one button, like only one thing, and just keep repeating that. It makes sense in many cases, but again, it's against our human nature. It's doing the same thing. Like I get bored after doing the same thing every day for a month. Like I literally get bored. So I imagine if somebody spent all his life or her life for only that thing, I see it a waste of life. So it started from there, started with productivity, started with of course, the advancement in science and technology and many other things, so the need for expert in one tiny specialization evolved. But then also the downside of this is having very high barriers between domains.
Yes.
And it doesn't make sense because we, in the past, we had chemistry and we had biology, right? But without people connecting both, we didn't have biochemistry, right? We wouldn't have biochemistry. And then that evolved in many different other ways. Like you literally need several, domains together and somebody who knows a bit of here and there to connect both together. I'll just give you an example, like Nobel laureates. I think 85% to 90% of them, they have expertise in more than one or two, one domain. So there are examples of people who have been specializing until their 40s in one thing. And then they move after that for 10 years in another expertise. And then from 50 to 60 to third one, and then magic happens, they got Nobel. They got the discovery and they got their Nobel. Also, another interesting study that was done in University of Pennsylvania. So ophthalmologists, doctors, they divided them into two parts. One part did the very traditional way of, study, and the very, very traditional way. And the other one, they give them a bit of time going out, study some art. Like go out, go to museums and study something else. And then they studied them over years. And they saw the productivity of the second group. They excelled in a very, very high range compared to the traditional way. Which that proved the point.
It makes me think, like, let me see if I can get this thought out in a coherent way. But like, as you're saying it, there's like I don't know if it's a spiritual or a moralistic, I don't know what it is. So let me say it and we'll see what it is. Like the idea that, back to Adam Smith, let's just use him as the reference point of this, right? Like, there's this sensation of we're trying to work towards something. And maybe it was deliberate, maybe it wasn't, but it seems like there was this acceptance of we may cause some people to suffer by forcing them to specialize, for having them do the same thing every day, but it's going to allow us to achieve this thing, right? And in a spiritual way, whatever you want to call it, universal karma, like that doesn't work. When you make somebody suffer, when you take away our base human nature to follow our passions and our things, like you will make progress, but not the optimal progress. And it's almost as if we didn't realize that yet in our human evolution, or maybe again, it speaks to like the badness in us, right? That willingness to sacrifice other people for some good. If we had just recognized this can't be it, the answer can't be the one that forces somebody into a miserable existence. It feels like there's something in that proves out,